grabbed by Boomtown Boss. Maloney hit the go button, the favourite, the last race favourite, burned away. And if you're on Boomtown Boss, you're home for your tea buddy. Boomtown Boss, first up wins. Won't be the last time either.
Welcome to Bet Doctor Brisvegas style. I'm your host Scoot, and we've done the super sub. We've left the Grinch back up in his dungeon, and we've got Donnie, probably Twitter's hottest tipster.
Hot in terms of looks or in form, because possibly it could be both. But yeah, it's good to be back, Scooty. It's good to get Walt back into his natural habitat, his dungeon, and keen for the Brisbane Carnival.
Wow, there you go, GK. There's something to compete with.
I can't compete with Donnie on anything. So, I'll just stay in my office. And I've had my once yearly trip out of the office to the track, made a mess of myself, still feeling the effects. So back in the office for another 12 months.
What about the Grinch? Is the tree up yet, John?
I'm positive on Fridays, mate. Thursdays is where I leave all the negativity behind. I leave the negativity to the others on this show. This is Positive Fridays.
Positive vibes. It was positive vibes last Saturday. It was a hat full of winners. Grafter Burners, you boys both kicked up for that. GK and Walt, first mission was a good one. I think you both owe Corey Sutherland a public apology. I sort of gave him a bit of a chance, said he was a man for a job. And gosh, Grafter Burners, if you knew he was going to lead, what price would he have been, GK? $1.50, $1.30?
Yeah, $1.30. Look, I mapped him to lead. No. No, but as soon as he landed there, I almost turned around, stopped watching at Flemington. So, that was a good result. Wrong price by Entane. Long may it continue.
Outstanding. Chief Witness was a good one. Found the right spot. And Emicor, we lined up on that one. Walt, and it was in the right sort of spot, and it was a good win. And then Boomtown Boss, the world was on it, cave in, and it was just a bugger. There was scratchings, wasn't there, Walt? Plenty of them.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't really know what was going on. I was like, is there a big storm? And then I'm checking the track thing. There was so much going on the day, and then they just kept coming out. But any price a winner.
I was thinking his manners still need to improve a lot to win a race like the Gateway and to compete at the top level. What's your thoughts there, Walt?
I thought it was, I think it's got a lot of improvement. Definitely looked like a peak sort of 200 out. They didn't go quick. The track was obviously completely on fire. So I'd expect it to improve pretty significantly off the back of that. And, a more genuinely run race. That was just a barrier trial.
I think it was important to note, you were probably just recovering from Cup Week celebrations down there, Donnie, after toweling up a couple of the on-course bookmakers. But a lot of those horses that won last Saturday, you give them a big tick in the rock hard firm deck column, and then horses like Grafter Burners and Boomtown Boss, where do they sort of measure up?
Especially Grafter Burners, it's always had the talent and that back-end speed in its races. So now it's showing some early speed to match it. It's going to be hard to beat wherever it goes. So he looks like a perfect 3-year-old Millions horse. I'm not sure if it even is qualified for that race. But and Boomtown Boss, like you said, it can do a bit wrong early. So it might not stretch out to 1,400, but we'll see what happens. But I've got to love the way that Eagle Farm track's been racing. The hard surface, it's been fair. Been getting off the inside slightly, and all horses are getting their chances, in my opinion. So may long let it live.
Yeah, what's the labour pains coming out of the Golan yard in terms of the rock hard decks? I know Uncle Tony sort of likes to poo-poo it a little bit, GK. Is there any labour pains?
No, I don't think so. Look, like last week was a pretty unique situation. Like on my track speeds, it was actually the firmest track we've had since the track was relayed a few years ago. So it was firmer than it even normally is. Look, I think there is a preference that they try to get some more juice into the track, but it's just so hard to get it right up here with the conditions, and that the storms will roll in sort of out of nowhere. And look, it's a tricky job for the curators. So look, I don't mind the firm tracks because we know how to play them, and we just go looking for those horses that have got fast track form. So I just think Eagle Farm's just the best track to bet at for us. So, I'd happily race at Eagle Farm every single week.
Having a look at tomorrow at Doomben, it looks like there's going to be potentially 25 mil going to hit, I'd say between sort of 5 and 9 o'clock tonight, GK. You're going to get drying weather all day during the day today, and then Saturday morning. I think there is 16 mil forecast for tomorrow, but it's not going to hit until after the races. So you're going to get a big dump of rain tonight, and then good drying conditions pretty much throughout the day. And there is lots of wind around on both days as well.
Yeah, look, I'd imagine that probably by tomorrow morning, they probably put it up as sort of 7, 8 range. And then it'll dry out pretty quickly. And, there's very little moisture in the track already. Look, by race 1, maybe they'll say it's still a 7 or something. I actually think it'll race better than that, unless the conditions change. Like, I personally think it'll probably race more like a 5 or a 6. The bigger question for me is just really whether the inside chops out. We haven't actually had a rain affected track, a proper rain affected track up here since the winter carnival. So Doomben can get a little tricky where, if there is good rain, the inside lanes 1, lane 2 can sometimes chop out. That's the main thing I'd be looking for early. But I think the other thing is that we might see a pretty big set of form reversals just because of how firm the tracks have been, and now we're getting the sting out. So, you have to look for different types of profiles, and I think you need to be forgiving on some of those that maybe haven't been able to let down on the concrete tracks. And once you dig deeper into its form, you can see those that, prefer the sting out.
Great point. Very important there. Let's have let's get stuck into it. So we're going to do Sunshine Coast Friday race 3. That signals that Donnie's back in town. And then we've got Eagle Farm race 4 and then the quaddie leg. So market courtesy of Ladbrokes. We've got Shaco favourite $2.80, Jack Bruce, Lee Martin. And then you got all out of time, $3.10, Espresso, $4, Super Daisy, $6, Kate's Tiara, $11, and then Talk IT coming down from Rocky at $12. And the horse you like here, Donnie, is in the blue with the pink stars and pink sleeved and just locked away in behind them.
Yeah, this is there's a handy race. This is the winner here has come out and ran third to Boomtown Boss, Walt's favourite horse on the weekend, and you can just see right here, just can't get out. It's got nowhere to go, locked up pretty much for the majority of the straight. This is when the rail was out a fair bit and they stayed to the rail. Tonight, the rail's back closer to the true position, so they'll all be getting off the fence. The start prior to this, it ran a really sharp race at the same track and distance. It maps just to follow the leader and pop off its back and gets every chance. And really, there's not much in the field to slow it down. I think Shaco's a good horse. He's got a poor jockey and doesn't want the track too wet. And other than that, I can't see too many dangers unless Super Daisy can keep running from the front. But I'm really happy to back All About Time. It's been trimmed up this morning, but I still think it's a little bit of meat left on the bone there at the $3.10 mark. And I think we can start our Friday night with a nice winner in race 3.
Yeah, I sort of went looking and maybe Espresso was a bit of a forgive, bit wide in the Lonrose Queen sort of first mission form, and I think both those horses would be sort of in the mix or definitely have the class there. GK, anything from you here?
No, absolutely not. I'll save my pennies till Doomben tomorrow.
Walt, stretching you to the Sunshine Coast.
I only wanted to add that the only reason we're kicking off at the Sunshine Coast is because you wouldn't let him do Ballina. But I agree with exactly what he's saying. Like, Shaco's probably the horse to beat, but just desperate for a rider change. He's got a really nice turn of foot, only just runs the 1,000 out and needs a strong rider and doesn't get that. So, Donnie's horse should get every possible. And T. Brooker's a cupboard job for me, but from gate 1, hopefully it's plain sailing.
Should go forward, lead, and be too good.
Yeah, I think it just trails the leader and pops off its back and goes straight past it. Well, that's the plan anyway.
Outstanding. All right, let's get into Doomben, and GK's thinking maybe a 5. It could be up to a 6 and maybe even a 7. So there's probably no big benefit to bet early, and that's sort of what I said on yesterday's show. So I'd sort of just wait and see, but interesting points about that rail being at +1 and then maybe the fence sort of chops out. So you've got a little bit of time before you get to race 4 to really have a look at that track and see how it's playing. But let's get stuck into the first race the boys want to preview here, and it's the South Sports Club Fillies and Mares Class 3. It's a 1350 Elmore Zillow, $2.50 favourite with Ready to Ship, $2.50, Electrona, $4.20. Circle is $6, and you got Star Racked, $41. Here's Ready to Ship in a benchmark 65 and has strung a couple of wins together here. GK?
Yeah, look, this was a nice performance at Sunshine Coast. Controlled the race and then responded and kicks away. Look, it's hard to knock that performance, but different gravy now. definitely different gravy here. Against a horse with the credentials like El Morzillo. I don't know how far El Morzillo would beat those at Caloundra by, but I'd say it would be a decent margin. And look, the trial. Look, I thought it was a nice trial. It's not really ridden here. It's a fairly quiet trial, so you don't really need to worry too much about that. I think it's more that once you have a look at the exposed form of this thing, like we've got wins this track and distance during the carnival. We've got a win down straight at Flemington. We've got good performances in Sydney. Just a class above this thing. And, I think if you look at the record, fresh or any of that, it probably doesn't tell the full picture. You need to go deeper and see the types of races this thing has been in. It's just simply it's better than these. And if El Morzillo turns up and it's ready to go, it wins this race.
Can someone make a case, John Walter, for ready to ship to turn the tables here? You got Jasper Franklin and Corey Sutherland just duking it out with their 3 kilo claims. And is the 1350 first up the slight query rather than the 1200? It was obviously dual nominated in the Class 6 as well, but was going to bump into Periel.
Definitely doesn't make sense that it comes here. I think it's just that it's just so thrown in that he sort of decided that this is the best option, and you kind of just got to wonder if old Big Bird Corey Sutherland's going to channel his inner Schumacher like he did last week and send it to the front. Then you'd be very excited. Even outside leader would be great. It's just, it probably shouldn't matter. The slower they go, the better. It's in like, the thing that drives me mad is it's in 7 kilos better minimum off the toppy to what it should be at the benchmarks, and they still choose to claim. I just don't really understand why you're so far in front of the benchmarks and you decide to throw the dice for an extra couple of kilos. But the trip's the only thing. So Kel's dangerous. It's pretty good first up off a slow tempo, but there's nothing here with any significant upside. I don't think so. Like exactly what GK said. If it shows up 85% right, it should win El Morzillo.
How much did you get on it at the $3, Donnie? Have you remortgaged the house?
No, I didn't remortgage the house. It was just a horse that, I don't love the setup, first up, 1350, possibly a wet track, but the $3 what that was available at Ladbrokes for over 24 hours is just crazy. I thought I just kept going back to it, and it's not a horse I want to unload on, but I end up have to because it's too good a price. I think if the track gets very wet, into the heavy 8 or 9 range, which it might not. I'd probably save on Circle because we're on at $3. But other than that, I would just be cheering on Morzillo.
The other thing with El Morzillo is it's a complete duck as well. So as John says, it already gets in so well. Got the 3 kilo super boost, and it's got an outboard motor, so it's a head scratcher. It should really be odds on, shouldn't it?
It's got to be. I just don't get it.
Oh, nice little free kick. So that's something that we can launch into with a bit of confidence. And I don't think the way the track's going to play, I think it'll just be pilot error if it gets beat. So fascinating event, race 4, and hopefully Kelly's got the job done. I might have to email him just to get the final stamp of approval. Nice little gag for you, Walt. Let's head to the quaddie leagues. Race 7, 8, 9, 10 we're going to have a look at, and it's the Keith Noud. It's a feature, the first event. And Beauty Charge, the ex-Hong Kong horse that's moonlighted in Sydney, $4.20 favourite, Epic Proportion, $6.50, got the Boomtown Boss form on the backup. Midnight in Tokyo, $7, Rock Rib, $9.50, He's Heaven, $10, Heatchote, $10, and then you got Orton, $12, and Swiss Exile, $15, much, much better the rest. A horse I found first up, the Hong Kong horse in the black and the pink sleeves. It was 20s out to 60s. I've bet on both occasions there, and I just get picked off by Disneck late here, and I nearly just fell to my knees and started to cry. It was a heartbreaking result, given the price that I was on at, and it was a total forgive last up, Beauty Charge, because he decided to stay in the gates and got duly tailed up, but there was still a good performance, even though I think he finished sort of tailed off. So this horse has something and has got the credentials to definitely be competitive. I'm not sure about what the price is doing there. Maybe it drifts. But a couple of query runners here is Sunset Dreaming's the first one I'm going to have a look at, and maybe GK, you can talk to us about this one. It's right out the back. It's in the white with a black hat, and that's Hidden Wealth winning.
Yeah, look, this was a nice trial. So this thing has come from the McAvoys. Last preparation to Golan. It ran some decent races. Gay Waterhouse Classic, and then it had a run at Sunshine Coast. Um, Look, I think the mail and especially the talk from Golan is that they think this thing is massively improved after a spell and has come back really well. And just, what we've seen in the last sort of 24 hours with a few scratchings and everything. Ange has gone on this thing. It draws low. Like, it just looks really, really dangerous here, where, it's probably just going to lob midfield. And I do remember that run in the Gay Waterhouse at Ipswich where it just had no right to finish off the race the way it did, and it absolutely launched. So, look, I think this has ability, and just the mail coming out of the stable just makes this a very, very dangerous proposition here. So, at the price on offer, I think it's one you need to cover.
If the fence isn't completely off, I can sort of see the angle here. It just looks like it needs a sort of suck and then sort of squirt up run. And the other horse here is Midnight in Tokyo in the lime green, and it's the same trial as the Elmore Zillow. And this is pretty good work. Walt, where do you put these in the sort of a pecking order? Given that you've got a handle on the Sydney form with Beauty Charge, he's since trialled really well, and then I guess Sunset Dreaming's a horse you know about as well.
Yeah, I couldn't understand why Beauty Charge was in the betting with the muffs on and off the trial, as in why it's so short. It just seems crazy. If it reproduced that first up run where it didn't have the muffs, maybe it could get back to that. Sunset Dreaming, I haven't seen much of, but I found it as a sort of knockout. Two very quiet trials. Probably didn't want it to be too wet, ideally, especially with that inside draw. Do you want me to talk about other races, horses, or just those two?
Yeah, you're on the show for your opinion, so.
Well, I didn't know if you're still watching, showing replays or whatever. I'm out in the boondocks here now. I'm not informed. You got Donnie there holding your hand now, so. And I nearly fell asleep while you were telling us about all your bad beats. It was really getting to me. So I would say I thought Epic Proportions could go back to what it did 2 starts ago from the outside draw and spear forward and be very hard to beat. I thought it was top pick. Heatchote's dangerous if they overdo it because there is quite a bit of speed up there. And then I actually thought Torabella and as you sort of said, Sunset Dreaming with the 2 knockouts. I thought Torabella was dangerous, especially if the rain comes with a wider draw and they really overdo it. It could come sailing down the outside at odds.
I'm not sure about Epic Proportions. I think it had its birthday 2 starts back, and then probably had conditions to suit again last start. Donnie?
Yeah, I don't like Epic Proportions either. I mean, I think Heatchote's the value runner of the race. It's got the fitness edge where most of these guys are first up leading into what could be a testing track, and I love the trial of Midnight in Tokyo. And if it can jump cleanly, like it did in the trial, it can sit handy to the speed, loves a wet track, loves being first up, and looks like it's in good form. So, yeah, I'm definitely with Heatchote and Midnight Tokyo, but not super keen to get too involved.
Yeah, that's the other big asterisk on Beauty Charge. If it gets to a soft 6-7 and the wetter it gets, it might be express out in the market, and it has that trick of standing the gate. So it's going to be fascinating to see what rain hits and how the betting sort of reacts to it. But an interesting way to start the quaddie, but some good insights from all the guys on the panel there. Let's head to race 8. It's the Drinkwise Class 3 plate over 13.50, and market courtesy Ladbrokes is Boomshot 440, He-Man 440, Centennial Park $6, Gunroom 650, 10 Good Reasons 8, Silvanito 950, and then you've got Gelatin 10, and then Oriente is 15 or better the rest. Let's have a look at the trial of Centennial Park, and this is good work. It's in the Wanless colours out the back, and it just sort of gets to the outside late. And this is before its last start cardiac arrhythmia. GK.
Yeah, look, I really like this trial. You can see it just it's inside behind Paray there, and this is a good trial. This is a really strong trial, and you can see it's just ridden nice and quiet there. Look, first start for the new stable was $4.60 into $3, which is always a telltale sign for these horses for Cali. And then, it does nothing. They say it has cardiac arrhythmia. Look, I wasn't on, so maybe I'm not burnt by that whole situation. But me just going back to the trial, seeing the market support, and then digging into some of that Victorian form, I really liked some of those performances in Victoria. So, look, I'm prepared to give it another go here and to forgive that first up run. I just think that we've seen most of these before, and I just think that they're quite limited. So I want to look for something different here, and this is really the DF in the race for me. And I think at $6, it's easy to cover. Look, I think the track is a benefit for Boomshot and it's a negative for He-Man. Like, I probably would have wanted to be on He-Man, but I just think a soft track is not what He-Man's looking for. So look, at this stage, I think I'd probably have something on Centennial Park, just small, and that'd be how I'd play the race. But look, I might adjust tomorrow once we see track conditions.
I was sort of trying to look for DF as well, and I sort of went looking for a horse that could be a new horse. Now it's with Mitch Beer and Georgie Carpenter in Gunroom, Walt. And then I thought you'd have a pretty good handle on Centennial Park because it sort of ties in that Seguria rock form that you mentioned on yesterday's show. But I think, what is it? Oakfield Saturn's come out and won since. That's the horse coming off the heels of Gunroom, but this is Gunroom sort of out in front with the big baldy face. Where do you put them?
Yeah, I liked this horse early when it was with Joe Pride, and then it was quite disappointing, and he certainly wants a wet track, and that's why he's up here. So if the rain doesn't come, I'd be pulling him right back. I don't think he's got the significant upside, but if the sort of rain's there, and he was good 12.50 first up for Mitch, as he's sort of seen in that replay, so you would only think he'd come on from that, but I definitely think Gunroom needs wet.
10 Good Reasons was the other horse that I was trying to look for, Donnie, after that first up run behind Hearts Are Better.
That's the one I like in the race. Not too keen to play, but if they're getting down the middle, it's going to be get back and wide or get to the right lanes in the straight. It's won over the Track and Trip on a wet track, and it ran a good time that day. It wasn't suited first up, but kept coming to the line, and I think 13.50 looks like a setup job from a setup trainer.
That was my read on the race. 1,000 straight to 13.50, and yeah, I sort of respect the time they run that day, and not sure if it wants bottomless, but looks like a dangerous horse. It's a pretty honest sort of character as well. Yeah,
it'll keep batting to the line. Whether it's good enough on the day, I'm not too sure. There's plenty of chances. Like Silver Veneto started $2 in town in Sydney last start. Boomshot's probably the one I'm against, and they're all chances here.
Yeah, it's a tricky race, and the quaddie might be kicking along, but it might get a little bit skinny later in the day. But this next race, race 9, it gave me a complete headache, and luckily, again, it's one of the last.
There for race 8. What a low dog you got! Just brass. It's leaving me on the bench. It's unbelievable, but I'm happy to be here. So just go on to race 9.
No, well, let's go. Let's go to race 8. I thought I gave you a bit of a chance.
No,
there
I thought you just asked with a comment on Gunroom. No, it's terrible. But when you're finding horses like Gelatin, which is who I settled on, I'm honestly happy to move forward. But for the record, Gelatin and Oriente, I thought they'd sit up on speed and be the two hardest to beat. But it's I've got 10 horses under $12 and 8 horses under $12.
I think the race looks a complete mess. So it doesn't get any better with Doomben race 9, the 4X restricted no metro win 1,110 metre event. And this to me is nightmare fuel and one of the hardest races I've done for quite some time. Bundella's the favourite at $4.80, Shot of Whiskey $6, Rich Minx $6.50, and then you got Formal $8. Thank you, Henry $10, Pareto 11, Mean Approach 13, and then She's Exotic $14. I note that it hasn't got a rider. I sort of half found it, and then you got Gilliana All Out of Time, which is at the Sunshine Coast, and there's a few here that have I've got dual nominations either at the Sunshine Coast and then at the Gold Coast on Saturday. So a couple of these could be good bets if they scratch from here and head to the provincials. But Donnie, I'm going to get you to lead us out, given it such a headache. And Pareto's the horse that you like here in the dark green.
Yeah, I like this horse. It's this day was over 1,200 metres and just got nabbed right on the line. I think back to 11 suits. Its best runs in its career on a wet track. And I think from the map, it's just going to roll across and sit on outside or just behind the favourites. I don't really like the favourites that have come up short here. Bundella looks way too short for me, even though it's racing well. And the other one, where's the other one? I've got it that long, I can't find it. Is it Rich Minx's $5 or something? It's a polytrack horse that hasn't been doing much. So I think it's going to fall in a hole at the 100. And I'm hoping Pareto's just camping off their back and gets to the right part of the track. And I think at $10 or $11, I think it's just got to bet, have a small play early and or after scratchings in the morning, and hopefully Rich Minx and Bundella stay in the field, because I think they're really weak points in the market.
Okay. Yeah, I went looking for DF again here, and Formal was the horse that I found at Wyong. First up, I thought this was an okay sort of pipe opener for this one, Walt, for Formal. And I just think it's like the type that might like a wet track. Like, it doesn't look like it's the strongest horse, Formal. And yeah, it sort of sucked up on the fence and sort of popped off heels late. Don't think it cornered overly well there. But once it sort of gets clear air, pokes its head through, it just looks like a small sort of whippety thing that might like a heavy track. But I'm clutching at straws here because I'm not sure that these are any good either. But strikes me as a horse that gets through the wet track.
Mad wet tracker that should have absolutely pissed in there. That was disgusting. But that is not a strong race. But like you say, just a perfect pipe opener to come up here, and it was a fast 1.5 or something similar. So yeah, I think the draw is a little bit sticky for it, but I think at least there it showed it's a little bit adaptable. So if they go too quick, because there is a lot of speed here, it's definitely I marked it clear favourite off the back of that, and that's assuming that the rain comes. And I agree 1,000,000% with Donnie. I'm just like, why so short? I couldn't understand what the hell. Bundella was basically a one-goer, barrier trial, whatever you want to call it, last start, and Rich Minx, like, they've dead set. Someone's had an aneurysm putting up favourite. I couldn't understand what was going on, and I'll get rid of my other opinions here. Shot of Risky, I thought was flying and had the sort of draw and was second pick, and then 2 roughies down the bottom north of Eli and Bengal Diamond. I thought trialled well at big odds. That was the way I'm looking here.
She's exotic, no good. Grafton form.
Nah, no good. I don't think she'll get to the turn, but I think Bengal Diamond looks a good thing in Gold Coast tomorrow, and I think they'll go that way.
Yeah.
So we're
It's just hard being Donnie when you're 7 days in front and you're already on your triple nominations and you've already worked out where they're going, where they're at. So they've got them all on speed dial. It's hard to beat him.
Well, yeah, he's obviously got to Adam before me and got or maybe later than me and got a more concrete answer, because I might have asked Adam which way he was going with that horse also once I stumbled across this absolute headache of a race. GK, the final word on race 9, how are you going to play it, even from a quaddie perspective? I noticed in the show notes you didn't want to touch it.
Yeah, I thought it was a horrific race. Just this starting point at Doomben, like, barriers are usually just so important. Like, you've got to draw low. Otherwise, it's just like you're straight on the turn. So if you draw out, like, you've just got to snag them usually. So wet track can sort of change that, and maybe, being 3 wide line can work. But look, I had Shot of Whiskey as favourite, but God, it's just been so long since it's won. And yeah, look, I don't know. There is good tempo here. The one angle I kind of found was with Thank You Henry. I just thought its runs so far this prep have been very much so. But third up here, Sting out, and I think blinkers going on. We could see a sharp improvement, and it draws just to get the run just behind the speed. So it's probably the one at double figures that I could probably make a case for. So look, I'd be putting that in the quaddie. I'd put Pareto in the quaddie, Shot of Whiskey in the quaddie. They were the main 3 for me, and then I'd probably look for some value runners to add as well.
All right, so the group consensus is just put the pen straight through Rich Minx and Bundella, sorting out that mess as best we can, and then sort of go scouting for a little bit of value in the quaddie. All right, maybe we can get the quaddie after all. Race 10 is a Ladbrokes Big Bets place. Classics 1,200 metres, and Periel is the favourite, $2.20. Ouroboros, $2.90. Surprise Honey, $11. Casper Nova, 15. Street Chase, 15. Town Crier, 20. Lubrication, 23. Spanish Fox, 31. And much, much better the rest. Sir Joe, 41. And Alda Fito, $41 there. Perrier or Periel, this is its trial. We just saw it before, GK, and this is the trial where it sort of got locked up. You can see it sort of back and along the fence.
Yeah, look, I think in both trials, like, what you've seen is they just haven't let it extend at all. Like, they've ridden it both times really quiet, and it's just sort of sucked up behind the leaders in both trials. Super quiet. It's very Ungolan like in a way, those trials, I think, which is really interesting. Look, I just think this thing is like a coiled spring, and like the conditions of this race and the likely track conditions, they all just suit this thing, especially compared to the opposition in this race. Like I think the main dangers in this race, which would much prefer a drier, firmer track than Paray. So, look, if it wasn't Doomben, if this was Eagle Farm, I would say this is a living, breathing moral. Doomben and traffic is my only concern, but look, I think it wins.
Yeah, I agree. It's plenty of speed with Ouroboros, Surprise Honey. They might just put it on, and Ouroboros, 1,200 meters. As soon as it gets like further up in grade, 1,100
It's a dry tracker,
meters.
too. A dry tracker, Ouroboros.
It's the really scary areas, and then Walt, maybe Spanish Fox, looking for a bit of the SF, and then other roughies if you go really wide. If it is a car crash, maybe Dream Smart or Sir Joe, who was scratched last week.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of scratchings this race could really change. I actually get a really good close look at this Ouroboros, trying to work out whether it is a dry track or wet, but it's never been scratched from a wet track ever. So it's just actually never seen once. It's its second start. So that was the only worry. But if it, one or two scratchings, because Town Crier and Surprise Honey, really, there's not that much pressure. So just keep an eye on that so if you get left alone in front, it's a nightmare to run down that horse. But yeah, Paray's very obvious. I thought Zelgaria was interesting, especially if the rain came. It beat who did it beat? Beat someone a couple of starts ago. The same horses that beat Ouroboros 3 starts back, and then 2 starts back, a complete car crash, and then it ran into a really slow tempo last start. So, it's drawn 16. I don't even know go around, but it's 40-1. I couldn't really understand that. It's probably the knockout for me. And that was it. So, yeah, I agree. Paray's clear starting point. I marked it like $3. So close enough too. And then lubrication and who was the other one we just talked about? It's been a long day, mate. We've only
Zelgaria.
Zelgaria. They were the 2 knockouts I'll be throwing in the quaddie just in case.
What about you, Donnie?
Yeah, Periel, same. It's the only horse I could contemplate backing. I think, like the boy said, Ouroboros is a complete road. He needs it hard and fast, and he's not going to get that. So hopefully it just stays in the race so we can bet up on Periel. It's just holding back. I just thought it was going to be a bit wetter than GK thought it was. So that's my only hesitation at this point. But clearly I'd be going 1 out in the quaddie after a couple of wide legs.
Aggressive.
Very.
Yeah, that's what you're known for. Outstanding stuff. All right, well, Perrier or Periel might be the team bet outside of Elmore Zillow. Probably take the double. Probably get a good price if you're just looking to have 2 bets for the day.
I think we got it, don't we?
Yeah. Outstanding. And a little bit of Sunshine Coast Race 3 as well. So all out of time for Donnie tonight. If you can get to the show early, make sure you head to littlebirdie.tv for the tips page. I've added Donnie's profile there as well. So you can follow the boys on Twitter and their Twitter accounts off that littlebirdie.tv tips page. And then that'll lead into their Discord channels and their products and services as well. But there's been a lot of speculation. Are you going to release another service, Donnie, or are you just putting tips out into the wilderness for free just as a goodwill thing?
Oh, it's a bit of a long story, but I thought I was going to get sacked from one of my rugby league coaching jobs at the Titans when all the coaches changed. So I thought, God damn, I don't want to go back to a normal work. So I thought I better start doing something. But I kept my job, luckily, and I just started tipping. And it's gone. It's heated up on the X. We've crashed it so far, so there's a big nosediving coming, and all the new followers are going to cop the shit end of that. But that's unlucky. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, I'm surprised Walt's still talking to you. You're getting more traction than him at the moment.
The Don, mate, 99.4. I was so happy when he was on the 99.94. That was awesome. Now he's too scared to stop tipping. Now he's on a run. That's the thing. You just got to keep riding the wave.
Outstanding. All right, there you go. So littlebirdie.tv tips page, get all the boys' summary tips. And then we've also got the CF4 and the Hunter show in the can as well. So make sure you're all over the Little Birdie TV page on YouTube. Who knows what's going to happen when they make everyone log in and subscribe to all these social media channels. Haven't got a plan for that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And hopefully we can just get through the weather tonight. So GK, I'll be pestering you all night and just maybe tweet out for the fans what the weather's doing, given you're the closest to the track. And fingers crossed we can get through a pretty good betting meeting. And then, hopefully the scratching sort of fall our way as well. That's what we've been dealing with lately for the last couple of weeks. It's just a bit of a scratch-a-thon with dry tracks or weather or lightning or whatever it is. So big thanks from me to all you boys. Sort of didn't mind having Dotty in the studio, a bit easier on the eye, and keep Walt in the naughty corner. But thanks to you also, GK, and good luck on the weekend. And we'll be back same time, same channel next Friday. So we're here until Magic Millions Day. Good luck on the weekend and gamble responsibly.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.